You know, in the Sonic comic book and in the franchise, we've had many pairings and couplings created. The most popular, of course, is Sonic and Sally. The second most popular again involves Sonic, but it's Sonic and Amy. And then, of course, you got the other couplings and pairings out of the comic and the games as well. You have Bunny and Antoine. You have Knuckles and Julie Sue. Game-wise, you have Knuckles and Rouge, and possibly even Knuckles and Shade. In game-wise and comic book-wise, you have Shadow and Rouge. You know, Sonic X-wise, you have Tails and Cosmo. Sonic X-wise and possibly game-wise, you have Vector and Vanilla. You have Sonic X-wise and game-wise, you have Emil, Emerald, and Cream. Comic book-wise, again, you have, well, I hate to say this and people don't like to hear it, Jeffrey and Hershey. You have, just a huge list, folks. Sonic and Elise. And, some people don't consider that a good one or official. So, and some even could go out and say SBO and Nicole. Mina and Ash. Tails and Mina. Or Ash and Mina. And Tails and Mina, actually. And again, the list just goes on, folks. But the biggest member to the list is, to this new list, is a pairing and a coupling that a lot of people feel is just eventually going to happen, whether one character stays alive or not. And this one character this one pairing that a lot of people feel is eventually going to happen because it makes sense is this pairing. Tails and Nicole. I'm not lying, folks. You have some fan pictures and fan arts. You have some fan fiction stories all wrote up and drawn pairing Tails with Nicole. Now you might say to yourself, why in the world would anybody pair up Tails with Nicole? Isn't Nicole supposed to be almost like the same age as Sonic and Sally? What's the deal? Well, here's the thing about Nicole. Nicole can actually reduce her age. The way she is, she can reduce her age by a few years, still be intelligent, still be able to do the things that she does, but she's able to, in her capacity, be younger by a few years, be Tails' age, maybe a few years older, maybe by a year or two. But, some people might find this a little unusual. But the fact of the matter is, folks, a lot of fans feel it's eventually going to happen. A lot of people may say that signs point to it. Some may say that you can see hints here, you can see hints there. But to me, I don't really care, honestly. If this was going to happen, by Ian, if Ian Flynn was to one day say, you know what, I'm going to do a romantic short story and put Tails finally with somebody, and that somebody's going to be Nicole, I don't think it would be a problem whatsoever. I don't think it would be, because both are kind of like in a similar situation. Both don't have anybody. You know what I'm saying? Both can connect with each other in some ways. Now, some of you may find that hard to believe, but it's true. It's out there. I mean, take a look at my latest fan vid on the Sonic Girls, and there's a picture of Nicole wearing a jacket and a purple shirt or something like that. That was cropped, if you will, or kind of cut, if you will, edited, if you will, from a picture where she was next to Tails. So, folks, to me, I think it's just an obvious conclusion that it could happen. I'm not saying it would, but from many fans' aspects, it could happen. Now, I know a lot of you out there would say, that's impossible. There's no way Ian Flynn or any future writer on the comic book would say, hey, guess what? I'm going to pair Nicole with Tails. And, you could probably be right, folks, but the thing is, I don't really think it's that bad of a situation. I think, if they want to pair Nicole up with Tails, then, be my guest. Go right ahead. I think, honestly, it's more the fact that, some people just don't think it makes any sense. But other people feel it makes a lot of sense. A lot of people feel as though, it's, you just, that Ian Flynn or who helps write the book, like, let's say Tracy Yardlin, that they just need the right scenario, the right environment for it to happen in. When Sonic and Sally were paired up again recently in 222, Ian Flynn was building up to the right time and the right environment, and he finally got to that area. The right time and the right environment, and that's what he did. So that's what people are saying. Someone like Ian or Tracy or whoever wanted to, all they have to do is wait for the right time and the right environment to make it happen. But again, I know some people might say, well, that's just crazy. She's be too old for him. Again, that might be true, but let's look at it from an aspect of the character. Nicole is an artificial intelligence, which is becoming more real and more Mobian human-like than before in the comic, that she could reduce her age to suit Tails' age. Somebody wrote a story, and this story is on one of the websites I visit, and there's a scene in this fan fiction story where Nicole is posing in certain outfits for Tails that she digitally produces herself. So if she could do that, then what's to say that if something like this was to be wrote for the comic or whatever, that she can't digitally reduce her age to fit Tails? Now I know some people are saying that they believe Ian's going to give Tails somebody, but it's not going to be Nicole. It's not going to be Mina. It's going to probably be Amy. A lot of people feel that could happen. A lot of people probably feel that's the direction Ian would want to go in. And again, that might be true. But from what I have seen, honestly, folks, I think it's just a matter of time before it happens. I think, in all honesty, that, if the fans want it that much, but if the fans want it that much, it's going to occur. But again, this is just fan speculation. This is just from what fans have drawn and wrote, in fan art and fan fiction. Why? Because they feel it would be the perfect pairing for the perfect pairing. It would be the perfect girlfriend for Tails, and Tails would be the perfect boyfriend for Nicole. But the question is there going to be a big enough demand for that to happen, whether said Nicole is alive or not after the whole Genesis deal? Would that be a big enough demand? Because again, I know fans out there would say it's not possible. It'll probably never happen. And, some may say some will probably even mention that Ian's gone on record and said it's not going to happen. But who's to say it still won't? I mean, here's Ian Flynn saying that he would never adapt Other M into the comic book or any related comic book, and yet he did just that. He did just that with the Silver Story arc. So who's to say that he won't probably, let's say Nicole lives after Genesis, he won't say, okay, I'm going to pair Nicole up with Tails and Tails up with Nicole. Who's to say he won't do it? I mean, if there's a big enough demand, it could happen. If there's not a big enough demand, it won't happen. But I'm just saying, folks. I'm just saying. You know what I mean? So, that's just my take on it, because again, I know there are some fans out there that will say, well, he is probably going to go in the direction of Tails and Amy, which he probably could. Some even far-fetched would say he could still go Tails Fiona, which, far-fetched as it is, could still happen. But again, Tails and Nicole, that's something to think about, folks, because you got to think about it. From what I have seen, that pairing has been on everybody's mind since almost the first issue that Nicole made herself into who she is now. So, again, even though it's still fan fiction, it's still seen in fan fiction and drawn in fan art, we can't say whether or not it won't happen, because it's still a strong possibility. And if fans want it, it may happen. So, give me your thoughts. Do you think Tails and Nicole could happen in the books if, let's say, Nicole survives Genesis? Or do you think Ian's going to go in the direction of Tails and Amy, and as far-fetched as it sounds, Tails and Fiona? Do you think that could happen? And do you think maybe even more so, Tails and Minor could happen? So, give me your take. Do you think Tails and Nicole is more realistic? Or do you think Tails and Amy, Tails Fiona, or Tails Minor are more realistic? Give me your thoughts below, and have a good Sunday.